Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Analyzing Historic Photographs. I'm Mike B, of course, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from a bunch of different people on this series, so I think I'm going to keep going with it. I make these videos for a couple different reasons. One is I really enjoy looking at historic photographs and analyzing them, trying to nitpick all the details I could possibly see. And I also like learning. And these videos are really easy for me to make, and I hate to sound like a lazy ass, which I kind of am, but they're very easy for me to make, and they're also very educational, which brings me to the second point of why I do this. My friends and I do this. We'll look at a picture together and we'll pick it apart and analyze it, and they'll notice something that I don't, and vice versa. And I've had a lot of educators at different levels of the system contact me or comment on the videos and say, I really appreciate these because it's very difficult for me to convey how to do this and get people to be interested in wanting to do this that are younger and not necessarily interested in history. And I think it's a big issue with today is people look at everything for the face value. You got like the Snapchat thing where it's 10 seconds and it's gone. And I'm not blaming that. I'm not trying to sound like oh, kids these days, but you know what I mean. It's a different kind of culture. It's very fast paced that we live in. And we look at things for face value. You go, okay, there's a bunch of guys with guns. And then when you really get into it, well, what do you see? And that's kind of the whole purpose of me doing this. And this is my method and kind of the way I do it. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but it still invokes some kind of thought as to maybe look a little bit deeper into any photograph, actually. But I like military history, so that's kind of what we're doing on here. And this is going to be based on my knowledge level, which on this particular photograph is not high at all. I would rate my knowledge on this out of 10 about a 0.5. So this is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of analyze it, go through what I see, and then if you guys know more about it, tell me if I'm on point, off the point. I'm gonna maybe be talking about the gear and stuff, and I know a little bit about the background of the subject. But this is one of the first times of me looking at this picture with very little knowledge of the actual conflict itself. So without further ado, here's the photograph. We're going to be looking at the Cuban Revolution, 1953. There's no context that I received with this photograph. I got it from a website because somebody suggested I try doing this, and this is way out of my comfort zone, but it's still in my comfort zone once you actually get past the title and it's the Cuban Revolution, which is something I really don't have a lot of knowledge on. Now, this is super interesting. Right away, you see that, any kind of soldiers or fighting force, they're the same. They like to joke around, and it looks like they just, from what my first impression is, they just went into somewhere, they took it over, or in their view, liberated it, and then they're using a baby carriage from it looks like a nice carriage, so it must be from some wealthier family. It's got the little umbrella and everything, and they're kind of posing for a shot, and hey, we won, look at this. They're all smiling, looking at the camera guy. And it's just really cool. That's what I see initially, just kind of looking not at the details of the gear and everything. So we'll kind of start from the left side and work our way to the right. Now you can see on the left, if you know firearms, military firearms, that is a US model 1917. Now, I would say it could be a P14, a pattern 14, but given the rest of the weaponry in the photo, I'd be more inclined to say that it is an actual model 1917 in 30-06. Also, the clips on his gear or clothing or whatever would also indicate that it's not a pattern 14 because they used Enfield clips. So I'm going to say with confidence that is a model 1917 from the United States. Now we go to the right of him, and you can see that guy has got a model 1903, also from the United States. Noticing a pattern so far. You got the nice rear sight, the bolt, and all that stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. You got a guy sitting behind him, and then there's a guy kind of right at the tip of the muzzle of the model 1917 wearing one of the iconic berets, which is very interesting. And you've got all sorts of different gear and headgear and weaponry. So then let's move to the right a little bit and notice you got another 1903 in the background. You can tell from the nose cap and the bayonet lug. That's a 1903. And then, so we're moving to this weird looking gun that some of you might recognize. It's a Rising submachine gun. So these things were kind of the concept that was issued in small numbers in the Second World War in the South Pacific and didn't do so well, but they made quite a few of them, so they were issued to police departments after the war and sold, as you can see, to other places that they fell into the hands of these revolutionaries. So it's a 45 caliber submachine gun, and they're actually fairly uncommon today, which is, I mean, they're common, but they're not, I mean, no machine guns are common. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. So we'll move to the right of him, and you can see that this guy is strapped with a bunch of M1 M blocks. So he's most likely going to be carrying an M1 Garand, which you can see the guy behind him has got over his shoulder. And so I can't see exactly what that guy's got because he's probably holding it down or something, but he's carrying M blocks for an M1. Now I'm really curious as to why they're carrying everything. I understand they're guerrilla fighters and all that stuff, but they're all carrying their stuff wide out in the open. They didn't have access to pouches. Like, they can get all these weapons, but they don't have access to just basic pouches or anything like that. They wanted quick access, but it's also easier to fall off when you carry ammunition like that. Anyway, I don't know. And so the guy to the right of that appears to be wearing, the guy that's kind of hunkered down. Let me get a closer look. I'm trying to zoom in and it gets blurry if I zoom in. He's got some sort of web equipment on. So this is kind of why I'm asking. Maybe they just picked it up somewhere. That looks to be almost like the US model 1936 suspenders. Could be wrong. It's not a colorized photo, so there's really no way to tell. It looks like a little bit darker hue. So it could be olive drab. It could be like model 1945 suspenders, but again, I can't really see close enough. But maybe I'll just say they're 45s because of the hue being a little bit darker than the khaki olive drab 3, which is the 1936 gear. So we'll go down to the guy sitting in the stroller there. The guy's got, I forgot what the name of the hats are. They're very similar to the U.S. Campaign hat, but they're more of a cowboy hat hybrid. I don't know what they're called. Again, I'm not too savvy on this. And I don't know what that guy above him has got on his head. That looks like something I've not seen before, but I don't know what kind of hat it is. So the guy's sitting in there. He's got like a scarf around his neck or whatever. And he's also got an M1923 cartridge belt on him. And I can't see, okay, yeah, the guy with the suspenders does have a 1923 cartridge belt on as well. You can see right behind Stroller Boy's M1. Yeah, so these guys have got a bunch of surplus United States gear, which I can also see, we'll get to the right in a little bit, and weapons. And you got the Model 1910 canteen cover and all that stuff, and the Model 1910 aluminum canteen hanging wide open. So obviously these guys are really professional. Footwear, what are these guys wearing? It looks like they're just wearing work shoes or work boots. It doesn't really look like a specific military model. They could be surplus as well, but again, I can't see them well enough to really get into unpacking what types of footwear they are. And footwear is not one of my strong suits of knowledge, especially during the early 1950s when it was changing rapidly. All right, so we'll go up to the guy that's smiling really big. It looks like he is holding, oh no, that's the guy next to him. So we'll move over to the right a little bit. Now this one's weird. This rifle, it's got a 1907 sling on it. It looks like it's a 1903, but it also looks like it's got like a Mauser style locking bar on below the barrel, and the barrel is jutting out from the stock and the nose cap a little bit farther than it would on a 1903. So both the 1903 and model 1917 have the US style bayonet lug. I don't know what to call it, the Mauser style bayonet lug that was like the 1893, where it's just a really short kind of lug, whereas the 98 style locking bar, which it looks like is on the bottom of that, I don't know, it could be a Mauser, but it's got a US stacking swivel on the front. That's an interesting one. Maybe it's just the perspective and the angle of the camera, but I don't know. It's probably a 1903 considering what everyone else has got, but who knows. Now we'll move to happy guy sitting down on the bottom, then we'll move up to guy holding the weird rifle's gear, or it looks like he's holding it. So guy in front, happy looking, but it's weird that you can see the angle that there's obviously more than one photographer taking this photo or at this event photographing it, because they're all looking at another photographer. It doesn't look like anybody's actually looking at the person who took this particular photograph. So it's very interesting when people take pictures like this, because you don't know if there's a slew of people that are standing there going, hey, we're going to welcome you like heroes and take your photo and all that stuff. And getting your photo taken back then especially was a really cool thing and whatever. So yeah, I mean, he's happy. Looks like everyone else is happy, but he's also looking at the same kind of the upper left of the photographer of this particular photo. So that's very interesting. Now we'll go up a little bit. That guy seems to be wearing a here, hold on for a second. There's another guy wearing a 1923 cartridge belt on the far right, but it looks like this guy's got some sort of submachine gun slung around. It's like a tubular thing underneath his we're talking about the guy that's missing the tooth, the guy that's smiling and standing up on the right with the canteen on his hip. It looks like he's got like a Wild West leather gun belt on for a revolver. You can see cartridges of some sort. That's what it looks like to me. And then he's got a 1910 canteen hanging off of it, because if it was on the other guy, it'd be flipped around. You wouldn't be able to see the lift the dot closure and everything. It'd be facing the other way. It's illogical. It wouldn't go on that way. So this guy somehow, it looks like he attached an model 1910 canteen to a gun belt, which is not impossible. You pop two holes in it that are spaced apart enough. But that's just really interesting that he's doing that. And then as far as the weapon, I cannot see that clear enough to give an accurate answer as to what that is. It's some sort of submachine gun looking thing, or it could be something else. Who knows? There's a lot of things going on in this photograph. I mean, it's one of those things. The picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'm pretty sure it's already been surpassed. And then you got old Creepy, sitting there behind the unidentified rifle, hey, I want to be in this picture too. But he also looks really creepy. There's one in every photograph, seriously. So, I probably missed a bunch of stuff, because that's how everyone rolls. It's impossible to look at a photo for a few minutes and get everything, all these little details. Yeah, so this is a pretty cool one. I'm just going to do a little once over and see if I miss anything very blatant, which is still probably factual. All right, so yeah, that was cool. That was a photo that I have no knowledge of that conflict, but because, I know that it happened. That's about the extent of my knowledge. I know that Fidel Castro became, basically the communists won. That's what I know. But as much as, well, most Americans don't even know why Cuba's communist, so we won't go there. But it's very interesting, because you don't necessarily need to know about a specific conflict to be able to dissect and go, oh, that's familiar, they're using this. This is what's weird about the 20th century, especially post-World War II. Well, pre-World War II as well, we'll get into that in other videos, where there's stuff that is from all over the world being used in these different weird conflicts that went on. So it's very interesting, and a lot of photography happening in the 20th century for the first time as well. So, all right, well, that's all I've got for this one. Again, I probably missed stuff. It's only natural. I'm a human. And it's just a really interesting photo. So whoever suggested this, I forgot who you were. Sorry, I have too many comments and I can't keep track of everyone. Thanks for suggesting this, and I'll be doing some other oddball, obscure conflicts that I really am not familiar with, because that's how I learn as well. So thanks to whoever suggested this. Yep, that's all I've got for this. So if you like this video and you like my other videos, and you want to become a sponsor of the channel, you can do that two ways. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link in the description, or you can become a channel member. $5 a month or more on either platform gets you into my Discord, which is a really fun time. There's a lot of people on there, which is awesome. And a lot of information to exchange. We have fun. It's funny stuff, and I learn quite a bit on there. So that's a little perk. And what it does is crowdfunding just helps me be able to afford to do videos that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do out of pocket, like ballistic tests, getting certain weapons and certain ammo, and doing different things like that. Driving to the range costs money, everything like that. It's like I can afford to fund it out of pocket to an extent, which I've been doing for many years. But this past year, with all this crowdfunding, I've been allowed to be able to purchase items to teach about tangible history, and we're gonna be doing a lot of really cool videos this year that I would not have been able to afford just funding out of pocket. So that's what that gets you. So if you want to do that, that'd be great. If you want to support the channel but you can't do it financially, you can still do what YouTube loves. You can like this video, give it a thumbs up, share this video out. That's a really good way to support it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and throw a comment down with what you thought. So if you also don't want to support me in any way, shape, or form, and you made it this far in the video, I hate to break it to you, but you are supporting me by watching, so thank you. Anyway, that's all I've got. We'll see you on the next episode of Analyzing Historic Photographs.